Jon Jones, the youngest champion in UFC history, was only 23 when he won the light heavyweight title in 2011. It seemed like there was no stopping him, and the sky was the limit. Yet, Johnny Bones has had a rocky ride ever since, with a combination of remarkable victories and problems outside the octagon. Jones is preparing to make his heavyweight debut against Cyril Gane at UFC 285 in Las Vegas on March 4th after a 3-year layoff. He will be competing for the newly vacant UFC heavyweight belt. Jones's unofficial GOAT status could be on the line.
And as the rounds went on to 4 and 5, Jones closed the gap.
Well, there's also some nice left hand by Reyes. There's also some.
In addition to the actual championship, if he succeeds in becoming a 2-division champion. Jones has stated that a victory over Gane will solidify his position as the greatest fighter ever to grace the cage. Jones, is he already the GOAT? And if he isn't, would a victory make him the GOAT? Where are we now? We put that question to this week's Spinning Back Click panel. It included Brian Goes Garcia, Danny Segura, Matthew Wells, and host Gorgeous George Garcia. Let's have a look at Jones's incredible career and its impact on the UFC scene. We'll review his outstanding accomplishments and the data Jones uses to support his claim that he is the best fighter in UFC history. At 23, Jones defeated Mauricio Shogun Rua in the 3rd round of UFC 128 to win the light heavyweight championship. He became the organization's youngest champion in its history. On August 9, 2008, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, at UFC 87, Jones faced Andre Gusmo for the first time inside the octagon. Jones has only ever suffered a loss in the UFC. That defeat occurred when Jones was eliminated from the match against Matt Hamill in UFC. It is the ultimate finale because of illegal elbows. Some claim that a no contest determination should have been made in this fight. Jones has held the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship twice in a row, from December 2018 to August 2020, and from March 2011 to April 2015. Jon Jones was named the 2011 Fighter of the Year. In 2016 and 2017, Jones temporarily held the interim UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. Jones gave the Ultimate Fighter 8 champion, Ryan Bader, who had gone undefeated, his first professional setback at UFC 126. Jones submitted Bader with a guillotine choke to win the match. The fight between Jon Jones and Alexander Gustafsson at UFC 165 was added to the fight wing of the UFC Hall of Fame in 2021. A decision for Jones won that fight. Jones has fought for 15 titles and won 14, the most in UFC history. UFC is genuinely proud of Jones's incredible performance throughout his career. Jon Jones has 5 KO TKO victories in UFC fights. These victories were over opponents like Brandon Vera, Chael Sonnen, Mauricio Rua, Vladimir Matyushenko, and Alexander Gustafsson. The victory over Shogun Rua at UFC 286 was noteworthy because it made Jones the organization's youngest champion. Jon Jones is, without a doubt, one of the all-time greatest UFC fighters. It is impossible to overstate how spectacularly Jones has risen to the top of the UFC's premier division. Jones has fought 4 previous consecutive champions to earn the belt and hold it after a run to a championship opportunity. That opportunity includes victories over seasoned competitors like Stephan Bonner and Vladimir Matyushenko. It is an impossible mission to defeat champions like Lyoto Machida, Mauricio Shogun Rua, Quinton Rampage Jackson, and Rashad Evans. Jones must maintain his authoritarian rule and compete against the greatest globally to claim the title best ever and advance his reputation. What sets Jones apart from other fighters is not so much that he triumphs over those opponents as it is the extent of his dominance. Early in his career, Jones demonstrated a dominance over opponents comparable to that of Georges St-Pierre and Anderson Silva. Jones's rivals spend more time devising strategies to defeat him than mounting an attack. It's common to see a bout where Jones is partially controlled. We never even witnessed Jones be tagged with a decisive strike until his bout with Lyoto Machida, the 10th of his UFC career. Jones's most recent title defense against Rashad Evans illustrates his ability to maintain complete control over a fight from start to finish. On the way to a unanimous decision victory, Jones used creative striking and distance to entirely and utterly neutralize any attack that Evans had. Jones can still win even when he cannot complete the finish. Jones is the fastest rising star in the firm's history. He is destined to go down in sports history. victory because of his ability to think miles ahead of his rivals, Jon Jones or Conor McGregor. In 2023, two of the biggest names in MMA will return as they prepare for their forthcoming UFC comebacks. After shooting The Ultimate Fighter 31, McGregor will meet Michael Chandler. On the other hand, Jones will make his long-awaited transition to heavyweight to challenge Cyril Gane for the vacant title at UFC 285. Both have returned from extended absences, but who is under more pressure to succeed? Are you excited about the future UFC champion? Many people are sure Jones will snatch the title. On the other hand, many believe Conor McGregor is in the form to defeat Jones. We've long since moved past the stage where Conor McGregor's victories and defeats genuinely matter. Whatever happens in this fight with Michael Chandler won't change the fact that he will always be the biggest star in MMA, Mac Cash, because we have witnessed the story's conclusion numerous times since 2016. The man has yet to achieve a significant victory. The game still grinds to a halt to hear his every utterance despite 7 years of mediocrity and inactivity. Everyone should not harbor illusions regarding McGregor's legacy because he is who he is now. He's the moneymaker. A massive pay-per-view payoff would result from their inevitable rematch even if Chandler rolled and thundered his face off. But what about Jones? You found it, friend. If you want to talk about a legacy closely related to victories and defeats, the fact that Jones has never genuinely been defeated, or at least not by anyone other than himself, it frames nearly every facet of how MMA views him historically. In 2023, McGregor only wants to compete and earn money. Jones wants to retire as the greatest of all time, to put it bluntly. If he loses at UFC 285, he won't be able to accomplish that. Many things are working against him. There is a seriousness of the failed drug tests, the new weight class, and how frail he appeared against weaker opponents 3 years ago. There is a valid question of whether 2018 secretly marked the end of his fighting prime. Jones is under excessive pressure to support his claim that he is the greatest fighter ever by providing additional evidence. Hell, he's been wanting to compete at heavyweight since 2012. 11 years then. He can't screw this up now. One man's comeback could permanently change the UFC pantheon. The other is a lighthearted but pointless game between two guys with a combined 2-6 record over their last 8 games. This is a no-brainer choice. He has the highest fighting IQ in the entire sport. Many people believe Jones is the most intellectual combatant in the octagon. Roundhouse kicks, front kicks to the head and torso, and the deadly oblique kick to the knee are just a few of Jones's kicking techniques. Jones enjoys his life more than anybody does. Even before some very crucial fights, he attended parties. Jones claimed that the time leading up to the fight was one of his most uncontrollable periods. Jones said, "And I did a lot of wild stuff leading up to the fight. I definitely didn't give it my all. Really partying, drinking, staying up all night." After a hit-and-run collision in New Mexico in 2015, Jones's excessive drinking eventually caught up with him. He was expelled from the UFC, stripped of his title, and placed on probation. However, Jones has worked hard to earn the best place in UFC. The fact that Jon Jones has so much potential makes him the most deserving candidate to be crowned the greatest fighter in UFC history.